Okay, let's start. Miss Han, please lead the prayer.
Let's bow our head and feel the presence of our God. Dear God in heaven, during this pandemic, we know that everything is in your control. Thank you for keeping us alive. God, please guide our teachers so they can teach us effectively. And please guide us in this whole day so we can go home safely. Amen.
Okay. Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning,
Good
Mom.
morning, ma'am.
Please go back to your seat. And today, we were having a games or a review as well about the topic we tackled yesterday. But before that, I just want to say that we will having a quiz after the lesson today. So please be attentive. So here in these games, every correct answer is equivalent to 1 point. And it will be added to the score in your quiz later on. Okay? So next, who can give the different types of equation? The three different types of equation that we tackled yesterday. Okay, Miss Perez?
Ma'am, we have linear equation, quadratic equation, and polynomial equation.
Okay, great. So we have linear equation, polynomial equation, and quadratic equation. But there's a lot of equation, so that's what we only tackled yesterday. Okay, so great, Miss Perez. The next is linear equation. So who can define linear equation? Mr. Raymond?
Linear equations are equations of the first order.
Okay, so the highest exponent of a linear equation is only 1. Okay, if a linear equation has two letters, so it can, like there's x and y, so it can be called as linear equation in two variables because there's two variables which is x and y. Okay, so next, how about polynomial equation? Yes, Miss Sam.
A polynomial equation is an equation that has multiple terms made up of numbers and variables.
Okay, so here in polynomial equation, the exponent here is, the high exponent here is more than 2. So if for example, if the exponent of polynomial equation is 3, meaning the root or the values here is 3. Okay? Then last is quadratic equation. So who can define quadratic equation? Yes, Mr. Justin?
A quadratic equation is an algebraic expression of the second degree in x.
Okay, so now our topic is related to quadratic equation. We were going to solve quadratic equation by using factoring. So we're going to find the value of x using factoring. So how? So let's have the objectives of this lesson. So at the end of the lesson, students are expected to use factoring in solving quadratic equation. Factor trinomials of various forms. So after this lesson, so we will know how to find the value of x using factoring and develop the attentiveness in classroom. So now let's define first the quadratic equation. So what is quadratic equation? Quadratic equation is an algebraic expression of the second degree in x. So here's the example. X squared plus 2x plus 15 is equal to 0. 5x squared plus x minus 3 is equal to 0. So as you can see, the highest exponent here is 2. So that means this equation is quadratic equation. How about factoring? So factoring consists of writing numbers or another mathematical object as a product of several factors, usually smaller or simpler object of the same type. So here's the example. If 7 multiplied by 2 is equal to 14, so the factor of 14 are 7 and 2, right? Except from 1 and 14. So for example, another example is the factor of variable x squared is equal to x and x because x multiplied by x is x squared and not 2x. Okay, so now we were going to use factoring in solving quadratic equation. Okay, let's move here. Factor various forms of trinomials or quadratic equations. So this is the standard form of quadratic equation. Ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a is equal to 1. So it is easy to factor the quadratic equation when a is equal to 1. Okay? Next, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So where a is greater than to 1. So when a is equal to 0, it can not be called as quadratic equation. So meaning a is not equal to 0. A is greater than 1. Next, here, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So, where a, b, c have GCF. So, before using factoring, we need to get the GCF or the greatest common factor of the equation. So, after that, it is easy to factor. I'll give an example later. Don't worry. So, last is zero product property to solve equations ax plus b multiplied by cx plus d is equal to 0. So after getting the factors like this, the two columns, you need to equate them by 0, one by one. So example, ax plus b is equal to 0 and cx plus d is equal to 0. So after that, we can get the value of x. So let's have an example. So let's have an example here. Let's have an example here. Okay, let's have an example. X squared plus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. So this is an example of this, where a is equal to 1. So as you can see, we don't have numerical coefficient here. And if there's numerical coefficient in quadratic term, meaning it has 1. Okay, it's always 1. So let's try. So just like what I've said earlier, it is easy to factor this because you just need to factor this x squared. So what's the factor of x squared? So the factor of x squared is x and x, right? So x and x. Next is the last term. So what is the factor of the last term? 1 and 1, right? So 1 and 1. So since they are all positive, we just write here the positive sign. So we have now x plus 1 multiplied by x plus 1 is equal to 0. So how? So after factoring the first term, you just need to factor this last term. And the sum of the factor of the last term is the middle term. So let's check if it is correct. So here, x times x, x squared. Then 1 minus 1, 1. Then 1 times x, 1x plus 1 x times 1, 1x. So 1x plus 1x is 2x. So here, 2x. So meaning this is correct. Then, after this, we were going to use the zero product property. So we're going to equate x plus 1 is equal to 0. x plus 1 is equal to 0. So, to find the value of x, so we need to move the constant term into the other side. So, when positive moves to the other side, it becomes negative. So, we have here x is equal to negative 1. So, same here, x is equal to negative. That's why the value of x is negative 1. Okay? So, okay, let's have another example. So, here we have 4x squared plus 8x plus 4 is equal to 0. So, this is the example of this, where A, B, C have GCF. So, how? We need to find the GCF or the common factor of this, the greatest common factor. So, what is the greatest common factor of this? So, ang GCF nila is 4, right? So, divide the whole equation by 4. So, 4, we have here x squared, right? Then here, we have 2x. And for the constant term, we get 1 and 0. So, this is what we get. So after getting the GCF, we can factor this in an easy way, like this. So, we have again, x plus 1, x plus 1 is equal to 0. Because the equation is same in this first example, right? So here x is equal to negative 1. Okay? Okay. So to understand more, I'll give some examples. Okay? I'll give some examples here. So, okay. So I have another example here. I have 18x squared minus 9x is equal to 0. So here, I got 9x as their common factor. Common factor of 18x, the common factor of 18x and 9x is 9x. And then divide. 9 divided 18 is 2. X squared divided x is x. So I get here 2x for 18x squared. The next, the negative sign, and 9x divided by 9x is 1. So, equal to 0. Then after that, we were going to use the zero property. Zero product property. So, we have 9x is equal to 0. Ayan. Then, 2x is equal, minus 1 is equal to 0. So, here in the first, 9x is equal to 0 is x divided by 9. So, 0 over 9 is equal to 0. Then, here, I move 1. So, I have here 2x is equal to 1. So, negative will become positive. Then, over 2, I divide it by 2. So, x is 1/2. Okay? Gets? Then, after this, is like what I've said, you will having a quiz. So, here's your quiz. Okay? Okay, class, those who answered earlier in our games, please add to your score. So, guys, we have an assignment here. You need to search quadratic formula. So, after that, study quadratic formula, then give an example of application ng formula. Okay? That's all for today. Thank you!